Well, never thought I'd be making this video, at least anytime soon, that is. It happened. It happened, and I'm not happy about it, but there's really no explanation for it. Just an idea of why it happened, and I'm going to explain that shortly. Just starting off, this video isn't clickbait by any means. It's not clickbait. The car, yeah, sure, it's driving right now. I mean, it's here, but it's dead. Well, it's on its way to dying, slowly but surely, but we're gonna work that out. Yes, as you saw in the title, my 500 horsepower STI is dead, and let me explain. Probably about a month or two ago, when me and Bruno tuned the car for the last time around, when we were street tuning on that video where I just installed my new turbo, and me and Bruno were street tuning it on the boost leak, and we ran into all those issues. Something happened. We were doing a street tune, and we were in the middle of Oxnard, and basically, when we were street tuning on just small two-lane, roads in the middle of the fields, like, in the back roads, because there's no cops and stuff like that. But basically what happened was we were doing pulls, and we came to one street, and I was like skeptical. I don't like street tuning for the simple fact that it's dangerous. It's the street. Like you're doing crazy amounts of speed on little messed up streets, and that's not cool. It's not fun, and it's actually pretty scary. We were doing a pull, first through fourth, and Bruno's like, and I don't know if any of you guys know this, and I'm gonna bless you guys with this knowledge. Earlier in the night, Bruno was like, you cannot do this. I was doing pulls, and then at the top of red line, I'd throw it in neutral and glide down because I thought that was saving the motor in a way, but it turns out it's only hurting it, if that makes any sense. Long story short, when you're pushing a motor at crazy amounts of speeds and RPM and you just drop it to neutral, basically what happens is you've got your motor that's pumping really fast, and then all of a sudden it comes down to a dead stop and essentially loses oil pressure, which can lead into like a spun rod bearing, spun main bearing, stuff like that. And after Bruno, he's like, dude, you gotta put it in the next gear and just let it ride out. And I was like, okay. Started doing that, and we were doing a pull, and I went from first, second, third, fourth, and in the middle of fourth gear, I was like, hey, do I put it in fifth? And he's like, going to fifth, and I'm like, okay. So I'm bringing out fourth, and at this point in this car, fourth gear is like 105, 110 miles per hour. We're hauling ass at this point. We're going really fast. Turbo. But we're going fast, like we're hauling ass, and it's just a small two-lane road, really sketchy, middle of Oxnard, in between fields. They're little back roads, and the road was fine. There's nobody there. All of a sudden, the road came to a massive dip. I'm talking about probably about 1 inch to 2 inches dip, and then it was like a little jump. It was pretty scary. And I'm fourth gear, and I'm at the top of fourth. All of a sudden, we hit this dip. The car goes boom, boom, and it came up, and it kind of got a little bit sideways, and I panicked. So I'm like, shit. So at one point, I'm like, oh my god, I cannot crash this thing. I'm gonna die, because on the left of me, there is telephone poles, and on the right, there's probably about a 10-foot trench / ravine where we're gonna flip and die. In the mix of that, I have in my head, don't put it in neutral, so obviously I'm not focused on driving at this point. I'm focused on my motor. So I'm coming out of it, boom, boom, and we're all over the place, and we're all just hanging on for dear life. In the mix of that, I'm right here like fifth, try and put it in fifth, and I put it in fifth as hard as I could, probably because the car was mid-level. You manual transmission guys know when cars are at an incline, sometimes they don't want to go into gear because things are out of balance. I remember going into fifth, and somehow I was in third, so I can't be mad at the car. As much as I want to be, and as much as everybody I know wants to be, it's not the car's fault, by all means. The car would still be perfect right now if it wasn't for this incident. So I put it in third, and I released the clutch. Why? Because I didn't want the revs to go down. And now that you know, I'm more familiar with the car. I realized I just should have just put the clutch in and just kept revving it up, you know, just rum, 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 you know, and that would have kept the oil pressure up. But no, I insisted on going to fifth and ended up in third. It was really quick. It was just like a boom, like it was very quick before I caught it. And I caught it, put the car in neutral. I was just like, you know what, like, fuck this. This is scary. Like, I had to have just blown my motor. There's no way in hell I didn't blow my engine right now, if that makes any sense. Pulled over, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And he's like, that was pretty gnarly. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like, I'm pretty sure we just blew it up. And he's like, no. He's like, in the event of an over rev, you know, a couple things are going to happen. You're going to spin a bearing from the motor spinning way too fast for its own good. You're going to bend a valve from the valves floating. Actually, you know, because valve springs, you know, they compress. They go up and down and up and down. And then it'll happen what is called valve float. The valve spring will actually stop and collapse. The valve will drop, and then when the piston comes up, it'll smack the valve in the cylinder head, and it'll actually bend the valve or break it if you have, you know, not that great of valves. As you guys know, I have all the upgraded valve train in my heads for reasons like that, like, you know, just revving the car out high and it being safe. And what happened? So Bruno's like, there's a few things that are going to happen. So the bend valves, or, you know, you're going to destroy a valve and it's going to rip up the motor, or you're going to spin a bearing. He's like, either way, when we turn on the car again, you're going to hear it instantly. There's no long-term effects. And I'm like, all right, fingers crossed, said a prayer, and we turned it on. So we turned it on. I didn't notice anything with it. Car turned on fine. We went outside. We're listening for it. There was no knocking. There's no chirping. There's nothing. The car was perfectly normal. So I'm like, thank God. I'm like, you know what? Let's call it a night. Bruno's like, dude, we're almost done tuning. Like, we're pretty much there. Like, let's finish it. Let's wrap it up. So I'm like, all right, let's finish it. So we did. We tuned the rest of the night. We did probably like 5-6 more pulls after that, and the car was doing fine. I drove home. Never thought of anything about it for a while. As you can see, the car's been running fine. A couple weeks ago, before, you know, me and Bruno, you know, but when the tune was still kind of scrambled after I fixed the boost leak and I couldn't get a hold of him, I had sent him a video. And if you guys go back, I had said it in one of my previous videos, I noticed the car was cranking funny. Now, what do I mean by it was cranking funny? It was, okay, cars have crank cycles, right? So when you turn the key on and it initiates the crank cycle, it will actually build compression, you know, to fire up the motor. So you'll go cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then it'll start 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You know, it builds them per cylinder as it goes along. Well, it's supposed to sound like a normal car. It's supposed to go, it's because that noise, every time you're hearing that noise, that's each cylinder being bumped up, bumped up, bumped up, bumped up. Well, my car, I noticed one day when it was hot out, and I couldn't tell if it was the heat or what, so I didn't really think too much of it. But basically, the car was like, and it turned on, and I'm like, wow, what does that remind me of? Ringland failure. If you guys remember when I got ringland failure in the STI, that was the issue. That was how I knew I had ringland failure, because it was down on compression. It cranked funny, and I remember when Bruno said, you'll know when you have ringland failure because you'll be down on compression on a cylinder and you'll hear it. You'll physically hear it. And it made the same noise. So I was really paranoid. I sent Bruno videos, didn't get any responses back. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to forget about it. You know, if Bruno thought it was crucial, he would have texted me right back and been like, dude, don't drive it. It's messed up. We messed something up during that over rev. Ever since then, I kind of just washed it out. I'm like, you know what? This is a brand new motor. It drives fine. It's not misfiring. It's not driving funny. It's solid. It's a solid engine. There's no issues with it. That's fine. Like, let's just leave it. Let's forget about it. Life's too short to stress on those things. It is what it is. What happened, happened, and let's move on. So we did. We moved on. And progressively over time, it just kept bugging me. You know, I'd crank the car, and it was just, and you'd hear it just skip, and it drove me nuts. And I'm like, God, like, I got to get to the bottom of this. So finally, you know, I didn't tell you guys, but after my tune with Church, by the way, that's a separate video. The tune is just garbage. I highly would not recommend it. That's a whole nother video. Just I know you guys are probably watching my videos going, man, every video is so depressing. Just bad things keep happening and happening and happening. I don't know why they are, but they are. And I'll save that for another video. I'm not going to get into that. But Bruno had hit me up that day and was like, what did she make? And I was like, whoa, dude, like, where'd you come from? Like, hey, you know. And we talked things out. And basically, I told him, hey, man, like, you know, I want you to tune my car again. And we went back and forth. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, cool. And I'm like, hey, dude, like, this thing's cranking really funny. I'm like, and it's funny because Church tuned my car. Now, when we tuned my car at Church, it made 461 at just 20 pounds of boost. That's baby boost, baby timing. He took like 10 degrees out from Bruno's tune. Like, the car honestly feels like shit. I was like, my adrenaline was pumping because I had just spent almost $1,000 on that dyno tune. You know, you tell yourself, I just spent $1,000, I better be happy. You're going to be happy. And especially, I didn't want to let you guys down. So I was happy about it. It was cool. But deep down inside, I was not happy about it. I was not satisfied. Car felt like garbage. It honestly drives like a stock Dodge Challenger V6. Like, there's no throttle response. There's no pickup. There's nothing. It's a dog. And that kills me because it sucks. It feels really, really bad. Like I said, I'm going to save that for another video. But told Bruno, I want you to tune it again. And I'm like, hey, dude, when I finished the tune, Daniel from Church was like, I went up to him and I was like, so, dude, I'm like, you know, you obviously felt out the car. Does it have a clean bill of health? Do you give it a clean bill of health? Is it going to last a long time on this tune? You know, and he's like, yeah, it feels pretty good. That's a moth. He's like, yeah, it feels pretty good, besides the fact that I noticed when you turn it on, it kind of cranks as if it's low on compression. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait, so you turned the car on 100 times before you even tuned it because we were switching map sensors and stuff. I'm like, and you're just now telling me that you think it's low on compression on a cylinder? And he was basically just like, well, I didn't really pay attention to it till we finished. I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. Like, of course, you just now pay attention to it. That freaked me out. So when I was talking to Bruno, I'm like, dude, can you just please just watch this video? And Bruno heard it, and Bruno goes, ouch, we have a problem. And ever since then, and I'll be straight up with you guys, I have not slept. I don't know if you can see it in my face. I've been slept. Like, obviously I sleep, for all you guys out there that are so literal, but I've been losing sleep over this, you know? Just my motor, to give you guys an idea, just my engine costs are $13,000. So block, heads, all the parts, $13,000 engine if you were going to blueprint my motor. When he told me that we have a problem, you could imagine how I'm feeling going, I just spent $13,000, my car was down for like about 4 or 5 months. I've had the car back for exactly 4,000 miles. That is it, just 4,000. And now my motor's hurt? Like, dude, I was so shocked. And then, so me and Bruno were talking about it, and he's like, hey, one way to move forward from this is to do a compression test. So I did a compression test, and, well, did the compression test, and the results are really bad. So cylinder, you know what, I'm gonna pull up my phone and show you guys exactly, hold on. And the results were, mind you, stock STIs have around 150 PSI per cylinder, okay? When my STI had ringlet failure on a 103,000 mile engine, all 3 of my cylinders had an average of 121 PSI per cylinder. One even had like 130, I believe, but the dead cylinder had 20 PSI. Now, okay, where is it? Where is it? Where the hell are you? I just did it. Come on now. Okay, here we go. So I made a little thing for that, but 90 PSI. Cylinder, I believe that is 2. Cylinder 2 had 90 PSI. Cylinder 3 had 90 psi, cylinder 4 had 90 psi, and cylinder number 1 had 70 psi. Well, no easy way of talking about that. As you can tell, something is wrong. Their car isn't making any compression at all. So, no, this doesn't have it. I've talked to Daniel from church. He's like, definitely something's wrong. That's way too low of compression. I talked to Sal, the guy who did my head work. He's like, there's definitely something wrong. That is way too low of compression. Bruno was like, something is definitely wrong. We need to pull the motor out ASAP. And I'm like, okay. Then I really started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, so brand new engine, 4,000 miles on it, 90 psi. Either we did bend a valve, or something is wrong with the ring clearance from, piston to wall clearance when Bruno did the rings. Now, the car is fine. The car doesn't burn that much oil. It's a Subaru, so it does burn oil, even with the brand new engine. And the rings are gapped more loose for obvious reasons, for high boost. You don't want, but people don't know, but pistons and how they work, forged pistons, they actually swell. So with heat, they swell. With boost, they swell. So if you make a really tight piston to wall clearance and then you put boost to them, it'll expand only so much and then it'll crack under pressure. So big boost motors, you always want to do, more of a loose, piston to wall. And it'll be like my car, cold starts, it'll knock a little bit, but that's good. You look at any built Subarus, they all knock on cold start for the simple fact that when you're under high boost, your rings are actually seated perfectly. No cracking ring lands and stuff like that. Now, basically, like I said, it's down on compression. And I talked to my uncle from SI Valves, and I'm like, what do you think it could be? And he goes, it definitely sounds like a valve issue. He's like, the only thing funny to me, though, is the fact that your car made so much power and drives completely normal minus the weird crank. If you had a bent valve, it would be way tremendously worse. And, if the motor was even that low on compression, it would be really weird. So I kind of just said, you know what? I gotta get down to the bottom of this. And I haven't slept since. I talked to Bruno, and I'm actually going to his house tomorrow. Well, today, essentially, because it's, when you're watching this, it'll be today. I'm actually going to his house, and we're gonna do a leak down test. My uncle from SI was telling me the only way to really get down to the bottom of this is to do a leak down, because it'll pinpoint what cylinder is hurt, whether it's bottom end or top end. So, gonna do a leak down test. Now, I talked to Bruno as far as pulling the motor goes, and it's a lot of money to pull an engine. It's not an easy task or a cheap task. So I honestly don't even have the expenses to do that right now. I don't. I have the money, but do I want to spend it on that? I really don't want to. Especially after I've spent a total of ridiculous amounts of money on this car. I'm not trying to pull this motor out again. It's not, you know what I mean? It's funny because I say it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I knew the risk when street tuning, and I was the one who was driving it, and I'm the one who made this mistake, so I cannot blame the car. This is 150% driver error. So I can't beat the car up for it. All I can do is keep kicking myself in the head about it, because it is my fault, and I take full ownership of that. Now, we're gonna do a leak down today when you're watching this, and hopefully the results pinpoint exactly where it's at. I'm not even about to say like hopefully the results are good, because it's not good. I already did the compression test. I know it's hurt. I can drive it. I know it's hurt. The car is hurt, and if I don't fix this issue, it's probably gonna blow the hell up, because if there is a bent valve, one day when I'm railing on it, the head of the valve will literally break off and just destroy the motor as a whole. So I gotta get this taken care of ASAP. Now I was talking to Bruno about pulling it, and it's a lot of fucking money to pull the motor, and he doesn't even have time. As you guys know, October 21st, either the 21st or 23rd, I can't remember, is SubiFest. I do want to take my car to SubiFest. I've never had a car where I can really go to car shows, car events like that, and because from the LS background, you have all the drag racing events, so those are always on Saturdays, and I work at my shop Saturday. It's one of those things I can't tell my dad, hey dad, I'm gonna go to a car show. I'm kind of stuck at work. So this event is Subarus. I love Subarus, and it's on a Sunday, so that'll be pretty cool. I really want to go up, and I want to take my car, you know. Whether I'm entering in the show, I know it'll win nothing because it's bone stock on the outside. Maybe there's like a Sleeper of the Year award or something like that, but I still might enter it just to get content for you guys of having my car in the show. I think it would be cool for YouTube and for you guys. Long story short, the engine is hurt. As of right now, we're probably on like 3 cylinders, and those 3 cylinders don't even count because they're nowhere near where the compression needs to be. Like I said, we're gonna do a leak down, and hopefully everything comes back successful from the leak down test. Successful meaning pinpoint. Like I said before, I know it's hurt. I'm not trying to have high hopes or, you know, positivity for this because it's just gonna be a straight letdown, as it is always with this car, unfortunately. I don't know why I have these problems, guys. This is my dream car. I've done everything right. I've bought the best of the best, and I've done everything at the best of my ability, but clearly it's not enough. And that sucks. You know, it actually hurts me because I love this thing so much. You know what, me and this car's relationship is almost like, you know, that hot girl that you really want, you know, your big crush, and she just doesn't like you back, she doesn't text back. It's that same type deal, you know. I gave her the world. I feel like it's just not enough because I get nothing in return. And but like I said, I can't blame the car. This was driver error. So anyhow, I hope my luck starts turning around because I'm tired of bringing depressing content, and I've said this many times before. This is not the person that I am. I'm a happy person. I like to spread positivity, and right now I can't do that because there's nothing positive going on. You know, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a hard place. But anyhow, with that being said, guys, I thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys are ready to rebuild the Subaru yet again. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. I gotta just do it. I gotta get it done and put out some more content. So, anyhow, I'm just gonna leave that there. I'll see you guys next week when we start tearing this thing down. As always, peace, love, and I'll see you guys later.